Bill wants me to remind you all that this is being live streamed to YouTube. So if you don't want your faces on YouTube, just turn your camera off. But if you're okay with it, great, because we love to see your faces. Um, and if you want to watch the video, you can go to nwsofa.org and it's somewhere on there, Bill. I can't remember where the
It's
video part is.
it's under the live
Under
tab.
that line, yes.
Okay,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
perfect. All right.
We
So,
are set.
welcome to Sorting Soup. We are very glad you have found yourself in our part of the kitchen. And if you would please take a deep breath. We are your hosts. I am Cecilia, your co-facilitator. I'm from Eastern Illinois, Indivisible. And we have Dr. Melissa. Is Dr. Melissa with us today?
We usually have her, but I think she has a client today.
Oh, right. That's okay. That's okay. All right. Well, we have Dr. Chris with us today from San Antonio, Texas. We have Rebecca, who is our timekeeper general and our tech support. We have Beth M. and Adrian, our vibe check and our chat monitor generals as well. We have Merle and Boot Money, who are our metaphysical support systems. And we have others that put a lot of work into what comes forth every week. And I just I want to say that I hope they know that we thank them very much for everything they do.
All righty. So I did see a couple of new faces and names. So if this is your first time to Sorting Soup, welcome. Um, this group is for sort of two purposes. We are all living through crazy times, and so this meeting is a space where we can, as a group, kind of analyze and emotionally process those events and current issues that are constantly barraging us. And the idea is that through the group processing that we're able to come up with some insights from that, like why these things are happening or what we can do about them, and from there brainstorm action items. And this all started several months ago, back in I think May, after a coffee and conversations after hours really ended up shining a light that this was a need for the participants of Coffee and Conversation. So this gives us a chance to go a little bit deeper on specific issues or events and engage in that brainstorming aspect as well. So we meet on Tuesdays at 5. And then I will get to group norms here in a moment. Okay, so today we are going to continue talking about GOP overreach and outrageous behavior. This was our theme last week as well. And shocker, it's continuing because these guys don't know how to behave themselves like proper humans. So we're going to split our time between emotional processing, group processing for about 30 minutes, and we have some prompts for discussion. And then the other half of our time will be spent brainstorming. Hopefully we come up with some action items where we can really, take some action after we're all done here. And just as a watch out for time, we do have an absolute hard stop where we all have to be off this call at 6:30. So we can just keep an eye on that. And as I am the timekeeper, I will be I will be keeping track of that as well. So in terms of the format, all of this is going to be happening in group discussion. And the way that you can participate in the group discussion is to raise your digital hand. So in Zoom, you'll have a menu of options, and one of them will be a heart shape um, react button. You'll click the heart-shaped react button and then choose the raise hand option. Each speaker will have about 2 minutes, but if you have more that you'd like to share, you can re-raise your hand and speak multiple times. So I think that's it for now. And but before we get started, we like to have a little exercise where we kind of make sure that we're all here and grounded. Now I'm going to hand off to Cecilia for that.
Yeah, we have to breathe through the bardo. So first, make sure your feet are on the floor, or if you are laying down, just make sure you're present and solid. So take a deep breath in. Hold it for a 2. A quick question. In this in-between moment we're living in, what seeds of action feel possible to plant right now? And exhale. Take another deep breath. Exhale. When you find yourself in the in-between, the pause before reacting, what helps you stay grounded instead of rushing to fill the silence? And one last deep breath. In this in-between moment, exhale. For our communities, what's one small action you feel ready to carry forward into the week? And what do you need from this soup? All right, let's go.
Okay, so before we jump into the group discussion, um, just to go through the group norms really quick, we talked about how you can participate by raising your digital hand, and it's that heart react button, and then click raise hand. And we are going to try to abide by that 2-minute time frame for speaking, keeping things very civil and constructive. And if some of this starts to get a little heavy or you need a break, absolutely feel free to do that. Do some deep breathing, step away, and then come back when you can. But these are the discussion prompts that we have today. So, Cecilia, these are just suggestions of things that we could talk about, right?
Yeah, these are only suggestions. If y'all have something else that is at top of your head and you would like to speak on that, more power to y'all. Okay. But the things that we felt strongly about yesterday and today were first Los Angeles, then DC, now Chicago. Okay, this is a slow crawl to martial law. Um, and the firing of Lisa Cook violates the Fed's institutional independence. This is igniting real economic concerns and furthers the anti-DEI strategy by targeting the Fed's first Black woman governor. Also, I know that most, if not all of you, know about the Project 2025 tracker. We thought it would be a good idea to look at it and update where we are now and see, hey, how are we doing, and where we are, and what brainstorm some actionable items as to what we can do right now against it. So
So this is the part where if anybody wants to start a discussion, you can raise your hand or just speak.
and if y'all don't want to talk about any of that, you don't have to. You can, hey Bruce, go ahead, unmute yourself.
You
No,
can't?
ask to unmute. Does that help? There you go.
Now I can.
Okay.
Good afternoon. I'm from Palm Beach County. I only raised my hand because nobody else did. So
That's
I figured, let me get it started. You certainly picked good topics for right now, along with the redistricting. But let's see. I just lost my screen. The first topic, which is the troops on the ground. Are we becoming a police state? Trump's argument that, oh, this is to fight crime, unfortunately, is going to appeal to his base and to others that there is a crime problem. And what do we need to do to it? Well, I've taken action to try to deal with it. Terrible situation. And the Democrats have better come up with an answer to that. And I've heard many, many suggestions on how they can acknowledge there's a crime problem, but you need cooperative efforts between the parties, other programs to lower the crime rate. And this is not the way to do it. When the governor and the mayors of the cities don't want it, and they're only targeting blue states with African American mayors, which is racist.
Yeah, but quick
And
question, Bruce. Does it make much sense to cancel hundreds of millions of dollars for the police, for the cities that he sends the guard to? Like,
no, and in fact, in DC, he can't. Congress canceled $1 billion in the budget for them. So this is hypocritical. And then of all cities, DC, where he let all the January 6 rioters out. I mean, it's absurd.
thank you.
Lisa Cook situation. Um, there was an opinion by the Supreme Court on the shadow docket earlier this year where the heads of the not the heads, but some of the board members of the National Labor Relations Board and National Merit Systems Protection Board, and a later decision on the Consumer Protection Board, independent agencies where Trump was allowed at this point to fire the heads despite a 90-year-old precedent said he couldn't for independent agencies. However, in the decision again on the shadow docket, they separated out the Federal Reserve, which is what Lisa Cook was. She's on the Federal Reserve. And why did they single it out? Because monetary policy needs to be independent. We've had the first two banks of the United States very close to the founding of the, shortly after the Constitution was implemented. And I would think the Supreme Court would say, and she's already bringing a lawsuit to regain her position. I think she will prevail, and she should prevail. Plus, they're going after her as the first black woman governor that's on there, and
Right.
apparently they'd given her a hard time even to get appointed. That I think I heard that Harris had to be the deciding vote to get her on. So this is all very concerning, and the same thing with redistricting, which goes to the pillar of wanting to stay in power, that they're trying to rig the election so that the MAGAs stay in power. And we've got to help California with theirs and hope that other states do not go for this redistricting, because we really need to change who's in power in the next Congress. Hopefully, we take the Senate, and we really better take the House. And this redistricting is trying to keep us from taking the House. So that's my 2 cents worth to start.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Bruce. That's wonderful. I appreciate everything and I agree. And the redistricting, I've been reading Mother Jones Project 2026, and they're talking about the North Carolina way for redistricting. And yeah, that's exactly right. Heidi, you can unmute, please. Did I ask you to unmute? There we go. Did that work? Ask you. There we go.
Okay, hi. Yeah, it really hit me. One of the first things that he said just now, it's racist. Yeah, everything this criminal administration does is based in racism. It's all, I mean, that's strikes at the heart of everything that they do. It's racist, and it's misogynistic, and it's, white supremacist. I just don't understand how, the whole country isn't up in arms over this. I mean, I knew, before Trump came in, even in 2016, I knew there were a lot of racists, but I didn't realize the extent of it until his presidencies. And it's really terrifying, to know that there's that many of them, and that they really don't give a crap about, their fellow, Americans. I just hope that there's more good people than there are racists in this country. And I just don't understand how they keep getting away with stuff. They just keep doing it. They just keep doing whatever. And I understand, that people are fighting back, and people are fighting them in court. And I really thank God every day for our blue state governors, mayors, AGs, and, lawyers and organizations like ACLU. Without them, we would be totally lost. The other thing that I don't get, and that's so upsetting, deeply upsetting to me, is what they're doing to Kilmar Abrigo Garcia. How do they keep, slandering and defaming him with no evidence, calling him an MS-13 gang member, calling him a human trafficker, calling him, everything with no evidence? Like, that's slander and libel. And I understand his lawyers are fighting for him tooth and nail, and thank God for that. But I think they should also be suing for slander and libel, because I can't believe what they're doing to that poor man. And that's racist too.
Heidi, I want to say one thing too, though. We need people like you too. We have all of those wonderful people like at the ACLU fighting. And we have all wonderful people like you too, who don't think that this is normal, who know that this is not normal, who know that this is wrong. And we need people like you to tell people, y'all, that's not right. I was walking into my local library, and I saw a white boy and a black girl sitting outside talking to each other, and he called her the N-word. And I
Oh my gosh.
stopped, and they were no, they were talking like friends.
Yeah.
And I stopped and I said, "Don't call her that." And he said, "Why not? I should call her. Why can't I call her that if she's acting like one?" And I said, "Don't use
Oh my
language like
gosh.
that, even
Yeah.
with your friends." I said, "That's ugly. You shouldn't say, you should never talk to people like that. It shows, it should, I said, it shows more about you than it does about her." And she's like, "Yeah, listen to the white lady." And, and so I'm just like, it takes people like us to talk, to speak up. Okay. So
Right. Yeah.
it takes everybody, even us. It takes the lawyers like Bruce. It takes the lawyers like Ed Yonka at ACLU. It even takes us, Heidi. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with that. Yeah. And people, or well, even me, people, regular people, I think a lot of times don't realize, you know, well, for me, for example, I don't feel like I have any power, like, like the ACLU has power, like the AGs have power, like the governors have. I don't have that kind of power, but yeah, we have the power of community
You do.
and compassion.
Yes, you do.
Yeah,
You have
that's
much
very
more
true.
power than you think.
Yeah. And I do, I mean, I try to talk to people, I don't try to change MAGA people. I've just, especially in social media, I've just been blocking and getting away from those kind of people because in my experience, there is no talking to them. And they're just very oppositional and down and dirty, nasty. Um, but I do have friends that, that work hard to draw in and change, you know, MAGA where they can. I haven't had a whole lot of opportunity with that. I've had some experience, a little bit experience here and there, but it's deeply unpleasant
It's
to.
taxing, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah, it's very unpleasant and difficult. And
Yeah,
I even
and
talk.
oh, sorry.
Oh, let's go
Dr.
ahead.
Dr. Chris usually says something about we don't need to convince a single MAGA person. They, if she comes off mute, she could probably say it better. But like the numbers are with us. Just have to we have to turn out us to vote, and we have to turn out the people who are somewhere in the middle and didn't care enough to vote or didn't believe that their vote mattered.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there really is really no talking to the true diehard MAGAs. But yeah, other people for sure that are on the rails or who have been uninvolved or who are scared. There's a lot of people that are scared. I mean, I'm deeply scared, and I know a lot of people are, um, especially with his militarization. Now that's and he's hoping to keep people from protesting with that. And I'm afraid that's going to work in a lot of instances.
Well, Heidi, we're going to keep each other courageous. Now, I am going to ask you to put your hand back up if you have more to talk about. And I'm going to go on to Al and see what he has to say to keep you courageous. Okay.
I'm good, thanks. Yeah,
All
here we
right.
go.
Uh,
Hey,
hey,
in reference to what the previous lady was saying about targeting blacks and Latinos, I think a lot of this comes about as far as Donald Trump goes, because this kind of like goes back to the thought of Nazi Germany of the 1920s and 1930s, where you had individuals of the Jewish faith and gypsies and and individuals that kind of raised questions about Adolf Hitler's authoritarian ways, and anybody that questioned Hitler was gone. They were either sent off to concentration camps or done away with, period. And this is just Donald Trump's subtle way of acting in the same course. If you don't play baseball by my rules, is his thing. You have to play by my rules and my rules only. I make them up and I make the rules, and I'm the judge and the jury. And it's my way or the highway. And that's the way he's acted for 79 years now, and nothing's gonna change him. So we just have to just act smarter, act wiser, and just just not give in to letting him feel that he can steamroll us.
Yeah. So far, I agree with all of that. And everybody who has stood up to him as a bully, right, has been all right. And everybody who has bent the knee has not. And yeah, I agree. Boot money.
There we go.
There.
Technology challenges me.
Some
You know what? After this meeting with Bill today, it just struck me. We keep talking about the National Guard being used for crime and this and that. And, you know, what's the root cause of all this crime? Has anybody sort of asked that question yet? And what's the rest of this group feel like? Where did this crime come from? I mean,
What crime?
was it here before the immigrants? You know, did it come with COVID? So what are we doing justifying or even accepting the National Guard for a problem that the National Guard isn't built to fix this? I mean, I would like to hear what everybody else thinks when they look at soldiers in the streets, especially weekend warriors, because they're heroic.
Well, if you have not heard, Washington, D.C.'s National Guard and all of the other states' National Guard that were called into Washington, D.C., were called in because a 15-year-old girl punched Big Balls in the face. Now, if you don't, I know that sounds ridiculous.
When are we building the memorial tour?
I have to laugh, y'all. I have to laugh because if I don't laugh, I will cry. I will cry or scream and tear my hair out or something, right? Remember when that I don't know he goes by Big Balls, that little Doge bag kid got carjacked. It was two 15-year-old kids, and he got punched in the face by a 15-year-old girl. And that's what they're using to predicate the invasion to Washington, D.C. Now, what they're using for Chicago, I don't know, because the crime rate has gone down. They've got nothing. They got nothing. I don't know. So yeah. Richard,
Cecilia, can I make a comment?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
We need to read the executive orders that Trump issued on DC because he mentions in there all sorts of false information about how horrible the crime is in DC. So the bottom line is he may have used what you stated as an initial excuse, but I'm telling you, he puts a lot more into those executive orders. I posted them this morning, by the way, in the chat.
He also probably utilized that executive order on homelessness as a predicate and said, and then because, and then the time lapse between that one and then this one, whoever they picked up in that time lapse, he probably used that as their horrible crime wave, right? We'll look in, I'll read it. I'll read it. Richard.
Yeah, I agree with you because Trump is just, all this stuff is doing, yeah, well, the immigrants, that's not good, I don't like it.
I agree. I agree. And I mean, he started with the immigrants because he thought people wouldn't care. And actually, he didn't even start with the immigrants, as Ori has pointed out before. Miss Ori, are you up?
Yeah, well, you hit upon Chicago's decrease in crime.
Yes.
Now it's at a point, a small point, but still a point lower than it was pre-COVID. And a lot of that has to do with Arnie Duncan, who, I'm sure people know worked under the Obama administration and an organization, Community Residents to End Violence. It's called CRID, and investment by the Commercial Club, which is a corporate entity that has made substantial investment into assisting small businesses in lower income communities, Black and Latino and Asian American communities, as well as the foundations. And we have some of the largest foundations in the world, the MacArthur Foundation, the Cormac Foundation, and they've been investing. So his notion about, crime in Chicago is, again, he's trying to pull, and you hit upon it, he's trying to pull the racist card. We have a Brandon Johnson, we have a African-American mayor from the west side of Chicago. And we still, sadly, have segregated communities on the south and west side. I believe if the troops come, that's where they're going to go. They're going to go to the south and the west side. They're not going to go to Millennium Park or where I live on the north side, where it's economically and racially integrated. What he is structurally doing is using, what he thinks will get not only his base, but those who, and I don't know the gentleman who is asking about the crime, that is the question, what crime? That he, there is no crime other than, maybe his election. And here is a man who is convicted of 34 felonies.
Mm-hmm.
If anybody ought to have the National Guard kick their ass, it ought to be him. I mean, 30 convicted of 34 crimes. And you're going to send the National Guard across this country for what? So I think, we need to, a lot of this is fascist distraction. And it works because, again,
Political theater.
Yes.
What aren't we talking about?
Yes. But again, and I think you know this, Cecilia, the book I read, and I can't find it anywhere, I'm sure it's banned, The Five Hitlerian Principles. A lot of what the path that he's following, and Project 2025 orchestrates that, is to distract people from the movement toward fascism. Have them concentrate on a bunch of stuff. And again, it was also used in South Africa with apartheid. Have them concentrate on a bunch of stuff other than the structural move toward fascism. And that's where we are now. Mm-hmm. So, and JB, God bless him. He's standing tall, and and that's and so is the Democratic Governors Association. But again, this is a distraction from the structural takeover of a democracy. And we need not, we need to fight back on it, but we need to understand it, that this, from, anything but the Epstein files, anything but, looking at structurally some of the not only illegal activities, but immoral activities, anything but that. And that's what it's doing. We've stopped talking about the Epstein files because because of the National Guard, but that's the intent.
And I mean, even stop talking about the Russia of the Vladimir Putin coming over, that whole thing, like just completely, it's gone. I mean,
but that's intentional. And that's what we need to concentrate on this, but we cannot. And what was her name? I love the Heidi, I think it was. I can't remember. I get, but her truth to power is we have to continue to speak the truth on all of the issues. And the National Guard, yes, we got to speak the truth to that, but we cannot forget that there are Epstein files and files that if revealed, we'll talk about some of the sexual assaults, but also the man has 34 convictions.
Mm-hmm.
I have yet to hear any of his MAGA clan when they talk about crimes. Well, guess what? He convicted of 34 felonies.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. All right, Miss Jeannie, you're up.
I just wanted to say I guess it was last night. I listened to a young woman who had lived in Washington, D.C. for the last 20 years, and just listening to this invasion of their city. It really was heartbreaking. She said they're really frightened to even come out of their homes. I can't even imagine. The thought of walking by anyone armed policing my streets, I just couldn't imagine. She was saying that in DC there are probably 23 different police agencies that are operating at any given time. They've got the FBI, they got the CIA, they've got more police in that little town, that area than anywhere in the nation. And she was going on to say that because they do not have the ability to have representation, that does, they don't have a Pritzker that's able. I mean, their mayor is doing just her dead level best to try to keep them safe and to try to to do as much as she can, but you just don't want to poke the bear. You don't want to poke that horrible orange snake. But she was just saying that teenagers have to be in by 8 o'clock, and they are really enforcing that. They're making them get off their porches, if they want to sit. And so it is really, it is it is just awful. It is unimaginable. And I'm just praying that, what he's predicting about Illinois is not going to come to pass. But I mean, everything he's ever said he planned to do, he's done it to some degree. I mean, some of it terribly poorly, but it's heartbreaking. But the one thing she did say in closing is, please, probably not at this election, but we have got to work to make sure that DC does have adequate representation, that they are given statehood at some point.
Yeah, we can't shut up about it now.
No, this is not the time to do it. But as soon as we get back in power, we've got to, help to get them statehood. All right. Thank y'all.
Thank you. All right, Richard, what's up?
Um, he don't like people. I have a disability. He does
Mhm.
not like people with disabilities at all.
I know. Me too. I get it. I feel the same way.
I mean, he tried to take Medicare, he tried to take that unit away from us, and then it was like, how are we gonna live?
I don't know. I worry myself. I worry myself, sir. I do. We're going to stop him though. And that's what Rebecca is after you. After Rebecca, we're going to transition to our brainstorming section.
Yep. Thanks, Cecilia. Ori, that was actually really helpful. Because honestly, up until now, I've been like, hell yes, let him bring the National Guard to Chicago. Let him find out what Chicago is like, because I think he would get a warm Chicago welcome. Um, that's meant sarcastically. And I think it would galvanize a lot of folks in Chicago to get out there on the streets and say, no, not here. It would make it real for people. But now that Ori mentions where the National Guard would likely be, and frankly, it's places where it's more people of color, and now that makes me think twice because we've so far with all of the protests, a lot of them have there's been a theme of trying to keep, I'm going to say this wrong. I'm going to try and say it right, but we're trying to keep people of color safe. Um, and so far that's come to life with less folks of color at the protests. Um, Not that like I'm trying to avoid the whole like white heroism trap. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm
And
just
and they're trying to keep us safe at the same time. Like
exactly. Yes, it's a going both ways. But honestly, like now that I think about where the National Guard, any sort of even more, even stronger law enforcement presence could be, it makes me it makes me rethink that and also want to come at it from a different angle. Like, is there a way where folks that do have advantages or privileges with that relationship with law enforcement, how can we come and play a helpful role? Um,
Well,
so
that is being, just so you know, that is being discussed. I don't know if Indivisible Chicago is, but I know that there are other groups, Chicago Women Take Action, and some church groups, and I love it. The South Side is now called the Polk Side, and so I know there's some Catholic groups, which include Father Pfleger and some other white, Catholics that are saying if that happens, they are going to stand up with the community. So the National Guard will not be able to play the race card as they may want to, because if it's an integrated group of people standing there and you're accusing people of crime, then describe it. What was the crime? Because again, let's be real. I was born and raised in Chicago. There was a time when the Chicago police would you'd be picked up for what we call driving while black,
yeah.
yep.
Having the wrong neighborhood, And I served on the Chicago Police Board for a few years under Harold Washington, and the structure of reorganizing community policing was very successful. So, and that's still there now. I mean, and that's why some of the peacekeepers are engaged with some of the police on the street. So it's going to be, as I said, but again, as important as all of this is, we have to have a core group of people. In fact, I'm leaving this meeting to go to, I was going to go to the climate change, but I'm going to go to the one on the redistricting, because there is a structural attempt to, again, in the book I was referring to, Rebecca, you'll want to find the 5 Hitlerian principles. I took it when I was at UIC, and that was 30 years ago. So I mean, it's gone. But part of it was the structure of how the Nazi Party and the fascists structurally worked their way into fascism. It wasn't just by one thing. And the first one was fear. The first principle that Hitler followed was fear. The second one was blame. The third one was, what will I do about it? And it was like, he didn't call it concentration site, they call it confinement. I don't know the last one. I don't know the fourth one, but the last one was, only I can do it. Trust me. If that doesn't
Lord.
Oh my Lord.
The 5 Hitlerian principles, and again, the author of the book was the teacher who taught it at UIC. So, and I know he must be dead now, because he's been saying and what made it even a more difficult book to read was, it was a short book, which is why I loved it. That's why I took it. But he said, what makes you think it can't happen here? And several of the Jewish students dropped out because of that one statement that, this is Chicago, Illinois, and if he were alive now, I know he'd be on MSNBC or every place else, because he talked about this 30 years ago, 40 years ago. And that's all I'm saying to you. This is not new. This is what we're experiencing, and we need to, if we can, look at lessons learned from other places like South Africa and other places where the kind of structural abandonment of democracy was achieved for decades, because that's what they're fighting for. And it ain't just Trump. Trust me. J.D. Vance, he frightens me even more so, because he will do it in a much less robotic way, and he'll make you think as a lawyer, this is for us. We're doing,
he's actually getting much better. I mean, people think he doesn't have the riz to do it, but he's actually getting much better as he goes along. He's learning, and it's actually much scarier as that. Yeah. I want to get to everybody. Let's switch to the new. Yeah. We'll just have that up in the background and have Marta go ahead and go.
Hi, so this is Marta from Mount Prospect, Illinois. And Ari, I hope you're on for a second more. Let me see if I can get my baby on. What you were talking about is exactly what I was thinking, which is kind of the brainstorming. I don't know the groups. I mean, I know of St. Sabinus, but if you are knowing of some groups and access that information, I would really love it if you could bring it to our larger group, because I think that is the model to fight this, is that the people most impacted are the ones who have the most say in what will help. And so I, was thinking just the witnessing, because what we hear out of DC too is just what you were saying, people being stopped, that you experience yourself, being stopped and searched based on how they look. And these days it tends to be more Latino looking, but we know that they're going to come and make trouble. So if there's any way for a presence to be both witness, to reduce that happening, to reduce provocation, and to help, it would be good to know. So that's all. I'm saying in a long way.
No. I think, and Marta, you would be amazing if like in that Pope camp, in the Pope side, right? You're on the Pope side, on the Pope team. I see Al put in the chat that he wants to instigate a violent reaction from Chicago, which is so true. We know this. And what we need to do is make sure that we get the message to all of Chicago, everywhere, that is what his plan is, that everybody understands. Y'all, we need you to understand, this is his plan. This is what he wants. we need to react peacefully. We need to react in a non-violent manner. We need to react strategically. Like this needs to we need to have a plan. Like basically, we need to be 3 steps ahead. And and I don't know how to get that message to groups like that are usually more apt to react violently when acted upon in a violent manner, if you know what I'm saying. But
Right.
but those messages need to get to those people is what I'm trying
Well,
to say.
and the other piece, yes, and the other piece I was thinking of is if we can get ahead with, I know, I think it was Rebecca who was joking about the Chicago welcome, but actually like big signs of, like, please see the fights while you're here or whatever. I think it was a
That's
woman named
such a great
Amy who was
idea.
talking about we should be trying to befriend like the guards or whatever that we
Yeah.
see and trying to tamp down on animosity
Yeah.
in any way we can.
That's a
So
great idea.
that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. All right.
Thank you.
You're up. Can I unmute you? There we go.
Hey, I just unmuted my own self.
All right. Well, good. You have
The
have
power.
you have the power. All right.
So, my son, who is biracial and light brown, is driving from Georgia back to Michigan. And, I worry about him, because for the same reason Ori was saying, I still think there's a driving while black
There
stigma
is.
out there. But also because, he could be mistaken for any, Latin descent. Also, I saw the other day that the way that they're going to start trying to kidnap the black folks is by mistaking them for Haitian or African immigrants that are here that have overstayed their visa or, are not 100% legal yet or whatever. So that was scary to me as well. So, so they've gone through the Latin folks, they've gone through the homeless, they're going for the black folks, they're going for the disabled. And yeah, I just wish that we knew a way to just put a stop to all this. And like, this is the time where I would wish that our, Democratic leaders, like, are they allowed to file lawsuits if they're in the House or the Senate? Because I don't see a lot of them suing against the regime. I don't know if Bruce is still on. Is that a thing? Are they allowed to pursue lawsuits?
I don't know. Bruce is still on. I don't know if they are. And
because we could just be suing them left and right to stop this and stop that, but instead we have to wait for like the ACLU, to get wind of something or someone outside of that matrix.
Usually I think somebody has to have standing, like,
Mhm.
and I think that's what I've heard some of my representatives, how they explain why they haven't filed lawsuits.
like a person,
You haven't
regular
personally been harmed.
yeah, a regular person, like my representative can't just go out and sue because he hasn't been harmed. Not that my representative would, because I'm not going to say that out loud. Sorry, I almost just walked right into that one. But you know what I'm saying? Like if he were a good person, he would. But if I were harmed, then he could sue on my behalf, right?
Yeah, but like Debbie Dingle, like she knows, and all the other reps know when he's doing something illegal and that's unconstitutional. So, and that it's harming the American people. So why can't they? Because they were voted in by us, so they're supposed to represent us. So why can't they file a lawsuit on behalf of us?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that one. We're gonna have to ask. We're gonna have to ask Bruce.
Where in the hell is he?
Bruce doesn't necessarily know the answer other than you have to have standing, and as you've indicated that you've been harmed in order to be a party in a lawsuit.
Mhm.
And I seem to recall that they can't bring one, and yet I think there are some lawsuits where they are parties, or at least they have attorneys representing their interests. So I really don't know the answer to that.
And there are, I know Adela put in the chat that there are hundreds of lawsuits, and that is true. I believe there was a point where he was averaging 3 a day,
Wow.
since from the beginning of his term. And
Okay.
so it's not that we're not trying, Beth. It's
Yeah.
just
I
Lori's
know.
also an attorney. Lori, do you?
Yeah,
Um,
Bruce is right that structurally it's not simple for an elected official to sue uh, the government. I mean, that's who they serve, and they serve the people of the government. But there have been, and it started way a thousand, well, I won't say a thousand years, with the civil rights movement, and even before then, that based upon their particular the communities that they represent. And I think that may be, and I don't want to talk too much because it'll be out. I think that the Democratic governors are looking at some of those strategies that the standing could be the people that they represent and how they're impacted. But without standing, yes, there is no mechanism for them to just say, pursuing you, this is all illegal. Because the laws of this country, and Bruce knows this, are so determined by federal um, government, the federal court, the SCOTUS, and all. So there is no one simple way to do any of it. But I do believe, and please don't spread the word yet, that the Democratic Governors Association is looking exactly at a strategy as how they can, and if not sue, which we're used to going to court, but
Yeah.
what's the word they're using, Bruce? Impede or just somehow to block it,
oh,
to
impede.
truly
Okay,
block it.
just a
So
block.
yeah, and they're calling it the invasion of the National Guard, the structural invasion of the National Guard. They're looking at a way to to have that blocked. But each and again, the elected people, in Senate and Congress, no, they just can't. Wish it was that simple that they could just sue, the president. Because quite frankly, if that was the case under Obama, they'd have been, he'd have had 1,000 lawsuits,
Okay,
just,
yeah, fair, fair.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you. All right,
Thanks.
Carolyn.
Okay, so when you were talking about like it has to be non-violent, like if the guard comes to Chicago, I just was thinking like when John Lewis was with the Freedom in Selma, that they had classes to practice being abused and stay nonviolent.
Oh my gosh, yeah,
And
that's true.
I don't know who would teach it, but
Oh my
we
word.
we got people that can still do that.
Do we? Goodness.
Yeah, I think so. I mean,
Yeah, I'm sure you're right. I know you're
I'm
right.
still alive, so somebody must.
Carolyn,
I
thanks.
mean, they actually would get together and practice what to do
Yeah, I know you're right.
or what not to do, I guess is.
Every once in a while, the reality of our situation hits me, and you just did that again for me.
Well, yeah, I think about that all the time. Like when when I go out there, I have to be willing to go to jail. I have to be. Jane Fonda went to jail,
Yep, that's
And
right.
otherwise, I don't go out there if you can't, what do they say? If you can't do the time, don't do the protesting. Don't,
That's right.
I kind of twisted that, but, and it's hard to think about because I'm old and most of the people who protested when I was younger are older now. But I see them out there, so they're brave.
Yes, ma'am. That's right. They are.
Anyway, I don't know if I was, I know about Kent State and all that stuff. So anything can happen and you got to know that. And you just reminded me, like, I got to make arrangements for my dog when I go, like, because I live alone. If something happened to me, he
Yes,
would be, yeah.
that's very true. I have to remember that too, because I was just reminded the other day that I cannot guarantee that my daughter would take care of my cats. So, yeah. Thank you for reminding me of that.
Well, I mean, if he's bringing troops into the cities and they're arming them,
I know.
so you have to be prepared that anything could happen. Not, I don't want it to,
But
but
you have to
it's
be
a very
prepared.
real possibility.
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
The interesting thing is that I think probably the majority of those folks, National Guard folks, they probably don't want to be there.
Nope.
And they're not allowed to say no. And they could be whatever, I don't know if court martial is the right word, but there would be consequences and penalties for them to refuse those orders. So I'm not saying like, let's go punch some National Guard people. I think that's a terrible idea, but like making things annoying and uncomfortable, that's probably the way to go as a way to communicate back up the chain that um, we don't need or want federal forces in our cities.
Yeah.
My 2 cents.
Set
yeah,
up taco stands and serve them tacos when they come into Chicago. That'll distract them.
and also if it gets really bad, they are allowed to refuse an order if it's against the country. So depending on how bad it gets,
That's right.
so just I don't know what that would have to be because I've never been in the service and we've never had this situation before. But
Well, when we think about it, the National Guard in California were defecating on military jeeps and other um tanks and whatnot before they left. So that's what they thought of that.
okay.
Judy, you are up, madam.
Hi. Hi, excuse me. First of all, I put it in the chat. I tell people to do what's in their personal risk tolerance because everybody has their own level of risk tolerance. And the other thing that I've been asking, and I've actually started to hear it being talked about on some of the national talk shows like Tom Hartman, but nobody's had a real answer, is what would happen if when Trump does this, if they were met at the Illinois state border with Illinois National Guardsmen protecting our borders.
I had that same question, and nobody's been able to answer it for me either.
And
Go on.
to me, that just seems like the beginning of a civil war.
Yep.
But that's something that DC didn't have an opportunity for. And California, it would have been harder because it came from within. And from here, there's no way they're going to pull our own from us because Pritzker won't allow it. He's just too strong of a governor to allow it. His statements yesterday were just spot on. And I don't know how else we're gonna be able to really stop it. I do know that at the leaders meeting last week, Ezra and Leah were talking that they're looking into what to do to keep us, particularly as leaders, safe as this is happening. Because the fear is that it's going to go beyond just Chicago. Because he's aiming toward martial law. And that's the fear. And I'm not sure what the answers to that are going to be either. But we're going to have to keep our eyes open and our ears open and just keep on doing what we're doing, because we can't we can't just let this happen.
One foot in front of the other, Judy.
That's the only way to fly, my dear.
I saw that amazing picture of you at row 1 at Bernie Sanders in Chicago. Yeah, I saw
Yeah.
that. And you were
I didn't see it.
No, you were getting hugs from Rebecca. I saw
yeah.
yeah.
Yes.
So
it was actually an awesome weekend. I got a lot done Indivisible wise and all that all weekend long, but I got in here way too late to talk about what a great successful weekend I had.
That's all right.
So,
okay. We just need to do what we can, where we can, when we can, one foot in front of the other, and we can do this. I know it's hard. This is insane. We're in that transition, and he's giving our very strong governor a test. But all of the people who have stood up to this bully have won. Keep that in mind.
You got that right.
So,
and my little group, there's like 10 of us that are active so far. Like I said, we're brand new, and we're planning our first protest for the end of October. So that's just going to be us sponsoring it. So, these things we're working on it. And I'll let somebody else have a turn because I know it's getting late.
It's awesome. Thank you very much.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye. All right. Miss Beulah, you're up.
I said, as to everybody, my name is Beulah Odom from Clarksville, Montgomery County, Tennessee, home of Wilma Rudolph and Sergeant Vincent Carter of Gomer Pyle series. And my motto is action is now. So I got my 1, 2, 3s here. With the question about can congressional officers sue on the AI overview, it says that they can. So yes, a congressional officer can lodge a lawsuit, but their ability to do so is limited by the legal principles of standing and the separation of powers document. So, which generally requires a lawsuit to be brought by the institution, the House or the Senate, or by an individual member with sufficient direct and concrete injury rather than the institutional interest alone. So it sounds like that it has to be a personal, there has to be some physical to the body, but that's the way I'm reading it, and it may or may not be so. So with that's interesting because I said, well, how is it that whenever they have hearings, If somebody doesn't show, that they can issue a subpoena for those individuals to appear. If I'm wrong, please correct me. And my thing about the National Guard, if they using the National Guard as they are using the National Guard, and we have emergencies such as getting prepared for this hurricane that may come into this to hit the coast of East Coast, West Coast, East Coast, uh, that they're going to delay response time of the National Guard if they called upon it, particularly in California where we're having flat fires. In they could be having a terrible snowstorm in Chicago or Illinois in some part. This is going to cause delays, delays, delays. And as they have said, these individuals are not trained to be police.
Yes, ma'am.
Or help with that because here I am today out here mowing my grass, and then they call me up to come and carry a weapon. And that's not good use of my time nor the United States citizens' monies. And I just wanted to state this, and I'll be finished. Uh, Being of African American descent, I can remember in the third grade being when they started having desegregation, and they had just remodeled our school, which was all African Americans, first grade through high school, and we had a cafeteria, we had a new gym, we had everything. Stupidly enough, the American people decided that they wanted segregation to happen, which would have been okay. But instead of them bringing the white students to the black school where we had a cafeteria and a gym, they sent us to the all white school that had the cafeteria in the gym, and they used it for several different things other than just playing basketball or having PE. And we had all those things in our school. So I can remember being in class and didn't realize this until I was grown in the third grade. Everybody was sitting in the tables where they faced each other, and they had 5 desks, individual desks set out at the front of the room. And we said, well, who gets the honor of sitting in those desks? Those 5 desks were for the 5 black students that was in the class. And that was me and 4 others. And then the teacher couldn't understand why in the third grade we were turning reports and stuff, and it was in cursive. We started learning how to write in cursive in the first grade, and she just could not believe that this was happening. That we were the standouts in the classroom. We were ahead of the rest of the third graders in the class because of the way that we were taught. And so the thing that happened to me as a grown up, we had racial issues at my PWI, predominantly white institution where I worked, and one of the professors got let go with no, as you would say, due process. And he wrote a manifesto that looked like a book. And he said, they coming for me today, and they'll be coming for you tomorrow. And the reason why I say that, the Hispanic community, they are the targets, but they're not. I have not heard them talking about Asians. I have not heard them talking about Chinese, Korean, none of these other groups as much as they have about the Hispanics. So there you have your one, you have your two, and then African Americans come in third. And I said, we have determined in our little group that they couldn't have put us first, African Americans coming after them, because then all holy hell would have broke loose, because they've already witnessed what the resilience or the stamina of African Americans. In Knoxville, Tennessee, they put the bus system out of business because people started using their cars, people walked, they used the taxi to go to work, to go to the grocery store. They did not get on the bus. And that is one of the prime reasons why the bus why the Civil Rights Act sort of helped, because people not only across in the state in Tennessee, but across the country, they stopped riding the buses. So we have I and somebody said it a few minutes ago, and I've said it a long time back in this group, and sometimes I feel like I say things and people don't hear me, but that we need to have the new Underground Railroad here, not only in Chicago, not only in Tennessee, not only in California, in Florida, in Illinois. It needs to be something that we do collectively across the country. And we already see that some of it has already trickled over into the world whenever we did the No Kings Day. So I think I need to say these things out loud, because if I don't, hostility, anger, and wanting to beat up and kill up somebody may take us over. And I'm glad that we're able to laugh at some of the stuff that we do, although it may be truly serious.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Thank you so much. Whew. Thank you, Miss Beulah. I appreciate you. All right, Dr. Chris.
Yeah, hey, I just wanted to make a comment. So I was thinking about Judy, who mentioned that she's getting ready to organize her first protest that she herself is leading, so meaning she's moving from a participant role to a leadership role. And then I'm thinking about Adela's question about how the boomer generation seems to be acting on muscle memory, which is somewhat true, right? Many of the people in the age demographic have protested in the 70s, and this is kind of just it is muscle memory for them. So I'm going to leave you with this as just a call to action is, and I mentioned it the other day, I think on Coffee and Conversation, part of our role as those of us who are boomers or in that demographic, or really anybody, but is to grow the movement, and specifically grow, look for opportunities, and not just look for them, create opportunities for young people to take leadership roles in the movement. I'm already seeing locally here, our 5051 leader, who's been with us since the February, just got burnt out and resigned her position. And so, the thing is, we are in this for the long haul. So again, think about that. Think about how you can coach somebody. Think about how you can create an opportunity for someone to take a leadership role. One helpful hint that I have is that sometimes if you ask someone to take a leadership role, have them take it together, meaning that, two people team up to do it. It's less intimidating that way. That's what hooked me initially when someone said, well, maybe you could do this with Kathy. And I'm like, yeah, I probably could do that with Kathy, versus doing it on my own. So anyway, I'll leave you with that as food for thought. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Chris. All right. Well, everyone, real quickly, no, can you go back real quick? I'm sorry. I just want to see that we didn't get a chance to really dig into the brainstorming because we talked so much about everything else, but I did want to just say, do correct misinformation where you can. And about contacting your elected officials, do that as much as you can, but supporting Lisa Cook. I saw an amazing interview with Paul Krugman, a Nobel Prize winning economist, who said, we are all Lisa Cook. That was the title of his article, because of course we are all Lisa Cook, right? We are all being attacked just like she is. And I believe there are going to be a lot of articles written with those kind of titles stating just like that. We are all this person's name. We are all Kilmar Abrego Garcia, because we are all being attacked, and we can all be this person. We can all be taken. I mean, you just take Judy Aronson and put her where Kilmar Abrego Garcia is. No, I don't want to do that, Judy. I'm sorry. But you know what I'm saying? Like, we can all be like switched out. It's all about due process, one for the other. It's all about our civil rights. It's all about it can happen to any one of us. That's what it comes down to. So public figures, if you know any public figures, scholars, or in your local communities, you can reach them and have them write op-eds or have them hold local discussions or organize academic forums on the importance of the Fed. Most people have no idea what the Fed is, okay? What it does, why it's important, or why when Jerome Powell is gone, how the remainder of the Trump presidency is going to be a terrifying endeavor, okay? So we need to talk about that. And we need to talk about why it's important about what's happening with Lisa Cook. All of this stuff can happen. And the trifecta stuff about talking to, contacting JB Pritzker's office, contacting our local representatives. Y'all, it's important more now than ever about they're coming, right? They've been talking about it for weeks, coming to Chicago. So we need to talk to our local officials, even if they're jerks like Adam Niemerg, and get a hold of him and say, what are you doing? What are you doing to stop this? And find out. And if they're to say, what do you mean, what am I doing? I'm going to hold out the red carpet for him. He's my guy. Trump's my man. We're like, okay, great. Pop a beer with him and tell him to go home. Call again. Call again. Call again. We'll see what we can do, okay? Anybody have anything else to say? Beulah. Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to add one more city to the craziness. Tennessee is not immune to
Yes.
this. They are going into Memphis, and that is a big African American people of color stronghold for Tennessee. Nashville was the stronghold, one of the strongholds, but we talk about the gerrymandering. We experienced that in the last election, that they split Nashville up, and they got two, and they may probably now be working on three Republican seats in that area. That Jim Cooper was our last person on the frontier, and then we're in the Wild West on the frontier, that he said he wasn't going to run for re-election in that area, and that now Nashville has been taken over by it used to be a blue zone, then it became purple, now it's red. And so when you look at the Tennessee map, you're going to see that the only blue stronghold for us here in Tennessee is in Memphis, Shelby County.
Miss Beulah, Gail was in the meeting chat again saying hello. Very happy to see you again too in here. Oh, Rebecca, yes, I see that. We have to hang up. Okay, sorry y'all. We have another hard stop again because we have a nighttime call. So again, thank you so much for being a part of the soup. We're very thankful for y'all to be. Without you, it wouldn't be so spicy, for real. So next Tuesday, we will hope to see you here. We have Vision Forward on September 3rd, Wednesday at 7 p.m. And we cannot wait to share that with y'all. If you have any questions, you can email us at nwsofa.soup@gmail.com. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful day, and we will talk to you later.